Today we're going to be talking about character level styling in DaVinci Resolve. It allows us to apply a different style to each individual character in a text node, and we can even animate it. As a bonus, I'm going to show you how it can be used to make edit page templates look better. Character level styling is a text modifier, meaning it builds on the tools in the normal Text Plus node. That does result in some overlapping controls, and it's sometimes hard to understand what Fusion is doing behind the scenes. I'm going to break all that down in this video. First, inside of Fusion, let's add in a text node just by dragging it down to the node graph and connecting it into the media out. And then let's just put in some text to start. Usually it's a good idea to have some sort of base style to work off of. For example, if all the text or the majority of it is going to be a certain font or style, set that right away. In this case, I'm going to set it to extra bold and bring the size up to about there. Once that's set, just right click in the text box and do character level styling. When we do that, we can switch to the modifiers tab and start customizing right away. The controls do look pretty weird at first as there's nothing to do. The reason that we don't see anything is because we need to tell Fusion which characters we want to stylize. Inside the viewer, if you just select a couple of the characters, a bunch of controls are going to appear in the inspector. If we change any of these controls, it is only going to update those letters that we selected. So we can do anything from the size, we can change the font, we can go through, we can change the color. There's a lot of stuff that we can do in all of these menus. If you select two characters that have different properties applied to them, nothing's going to happen right away. But as soon as you customize one of the controls, you can see it's going to link the size between the A and the C letter. But the color is going to remain what it was before we started customizing it. If we come into this color box and start changing that, it's going to update for both of them. On the text tab below all these controls, there's a few buttons that we can use to customize the modifier. The first one allows us to clear all the modifications we made to any of the letters that we select. So if I select the E and R and click that button, it's just going to set them back to the default. Let's talk about that quickly, the default or original values. If you've customized some of the text and switched back to the Tools tab, changing the normal size is only going to cause some of the letters to change. And these are going to be the letters that we have not done anything with in the character level styling. When we haven't done something in character level styling, it's just going to revert back to the normal controls in the text node. So right now I can change these letters as much as I want, but if I go to the modifiers tab, select a couple of these and change the size, those ones will also be independent. So now if I go back to the Tools tab, it's only going to change the size of those three. And this is going to be unique to each one of the controls. So even though I've changed the H, A, and R inside the character level styling, if I change the font style, those ones are still going to update. But all the way off on the right here, these ones are not, because I changed that style in the character level styling modifier. You following with me here? Fusion is going to always use the normal controls, but then ignore them if we override it using the modifier. The second button down here allows us to remove the styling for all the characters with just one button. Pretty much a start over for when you make everything into a mess. That's the basics of the modifier. One thing that you might have noticed is that none of these controls have keyframes next to them. Let's talk about animation. Instead of having keyframes for each one of these controls, Blackmagic Design opted for a global animation system. Without it, it'd be impossible to track down the keyframes and the tool would be infinitely more confusing. Let's make an animation. On this first frame, we're going to throw the characters all over the screen, and then we're going to want them to all come back down to this normal position. Just like the follower modifier, this one does not have center X and Y controls. Just like I did in that video, we can come to the shading tab, come down to position, and just use the offset X and Y to change the actual position. Then right below that we have the rotation controls, so I can flip these around. So using those, I'm just going to go through and give each one of these a random value. Select the next one, rotate this down, and we can just move these all around and make it look like all the letters exploded out. Once we have that set, again, make sure we're on the first frame, select all the text on the screen, and then hit this little keyframe icon right down here. Then move forward to frame 30, and now what we need to do is go and set all those values to 0. So if we come to the shading tab, we can just double click on the offset, sets it back to the default, double click on all the angles, and just set those back to their default values. Once that's done, you can see it's going to animate from the exploded view, and then they're all going to come back down together to what we just set it as. Simple enough, right? Well, there are some annoyances. Right click by this keyframe and remove the animation. Then click clear all character level styling. This is just going to set everything back to normal. Let's say we do this in reverse. So on frame 30, we add in a keyframe because this is where we want all the text to be. Then we go back to frame 0, and then on here, we maybe rotate the characters around. We do some fancy stuff with that. Go through and change the offset values for them. So we can just make our own animation again. I'm not going to go as in depth as I did last time. But let's say that's the animation that we have. You'd think that we get the same results as last time, but we're not going to. If we hit play, nothing's going to happen until we reach that frame. Then it's all going to snap back to normal. Since we didn't make any changes on that first keyframe that we added, there's nothing to animate. Fusion's just going to default back to the original settings set in the text node. To get this to animate, we need to make a change to all those rotation position values on this keyframe, so that way the modifier knows that that one needs to be animated. When you do this, make sure you select all the characters, and then it's as simple as going through and just double clicking on all the controls that you want to animate. This doesn't actually change the value of the controls, but it tells Fusion that we want that to be at the default, which is 0, 0. So now it's going to start at that position we set at the beginning, and then everything is going to animate to the default position. Pretty much if you ever have something jump like that, select all the text and then just double click on all the controls. Just like with any other node, you can add in as many keyframes as you want to create some really unique text animations. Building animations with character level styling takes a lot of time and effort, so it's not going to be something that's going to be used much. It's more commonly used just for static text effects like having part of the text bold. A cool thing about Fusion is how universal it is. You can use character level styling on any title that comes in DaVinci Resolve or templates that you buy online. Most of you already know that I run the website Whip Templates, which sets out to make the highest quality time-saving DaVinci Resolve templates available. The EditorTitles pack is built up of 180 titles. More to come, by the way. But none of them use character level styling because it's impossible to make it procedural. But that doesn't mean you can't use it. Here's one of my modern titles from the pack. I can come in here and change the settings and scale this all down to fit. Let's say I just want this level text to be bold and everything else is the light variant of the font. Like we did in Fusion, I want to set all the base values right away. So inside of the inspector, I'm just going to change the font to light. Then if I hit this jump to Fusion button, we can select the template and then in the inspector right click on the text box and do character level styling. With that modifier on there now, I can select the level text and then just change the font to be bold. And just like that, you can really customize Fusion templates and add a whole nother level of style to them. It's a real game changer to take all the templates to the next level. And like I said, it can be used on any text effects that you get. If you enjoyed this video and found it useful, check out one of my other videos on the screen. And if you want to save hours in the editing process, check out my EditorCollection and EditorTitles packs, which I use to edit this video. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.